I'm Meg Carney. I'm the founding director of the Solstice Master Fine Arts and Creative Writing program here at LaSalle University. This is the first in a series of 8 readings. Yay! These 8 readings taking place as part of our 2025 summer residency, 10-day residency here in Auburndale, Massachusetts, and it's the start of our fall semester. And now for tonight's reading. First up, we will have alum and graduate assistant Maurizio Turco, who will be introduced by fellow alum and grad assistant Noah Shea. Then we'll have faculty at large Kathleen Aguero, introduced by poetry student Peter Meidlinger. And then we will conclude with new faculty member F. Douglas Brown, and I will introduce Doug. So Noah, come on up to the mic.
Welcome, everyone. Tonight, I have the honor of introducing my fellow graduate assistant, Solstice alum and friend, Maurizio Turco. Maurizio began his Solstice journey around the same time I did, back when our program was still at Pine Manor College. He applied 1 term after me, but his acceptance had to be deferred because of our transition to LaSalle. And though he had the chance to apply elsewhere, he chose to wait. He believed in this community, and we're all grateful that he did. Even as a student, Maurizio's tech skills have saved residencies more than once. And his sense of humor has probably saved our spirits even more often. As a fellow alum and graduate assistant, I'm lucky to share this work with someone so kind, passionate, and dedicated to their craft. Tonight, we will have the privilege to hear Maurizio read his work in creative nonfiction, work that never shies away from truth, even when that truth is difficult. His essays explore mental health, self-harm, and complex family dynamics with honesty and grace. He invites his readers to sit in discomfort, to confront pain, and to ultimately seek connection through it. Maurizio, it's an honor to be here to listen to your writing, but it's a greater honor to call you a friend. Please join me in welcoming Maurizio Turco.
Thank you, Noah, for such a warm introduction. You're a friend to me too, so I appreciate that. As Noah mentioned, I'm Maurizio Turco. I graduated from Solstice July of 2024 and was honored when Meg and Q chose to invite me back this residency to serve as a graduate assistant. I'm very excited for the week ahead and so happy to see how much the program has grown since being at LaSalle. The essay I'm going to read is a new essay, one that I wrote post-graduating, and it will be part of my memoir, Tremors, which was the manuscript that I wrote for my creative thesis when I started here at Solstice. To give a brief context of where the essay is, it takes place in 2013, which was a very difficult year for me, since 2012 ended with an extremely hostile phone conversation that I had with my father. So, other than that phone conversation, I made the decision to not speak to him for a year, other than the scenes that take place in this essay. The essay is called Heavy Silence. Through the window by my nightstand, the breeze made the wrinkles on my shirt unravel. Stillness of the wind blew softly against my face. I wrapped and pulled at my tie, pulled and pulled, the knot tightened, as did my nerves. Weaving the knot loose enough to allow myself to breathe, I stepped foot out into the July heat. I paused. My mind thought of my dad, whom I hadn't seen in months. And what a time for me to see him, my grandmother's wake. A place of mourning, a time of sorrow. Would he respect that, or would he try to rekindle what was lost? Someone he loved, someone with his blood, someone who shares his name, his only son. I didn't want to see him. The anger from our last call still lingered on my tongue. The words he forced through the receiver still engraved in my mind, but perhaps I'd find the strength to forgive him. But at the same time, forgiveness seemed unlikely. He hurt me. I mean, really hurt me. Made me feel at fault, made me feel as if my mental health didn't matter, as if I didn't matter. But then again, I also wasn't kind. I said things I still regret to this day, made a decision that for a time made our relationship cease to exist. But today, as I headed to the funeral home, the timing to make amends did not feel right, nor did the day, nor did I. My grandfather stood perched over my grandmother when I arrived. His hands interlocked with hers, his eyes watched over as she slept. His face grew red as hers remained pale, blank, and lifeless. "Dottie, my darling, my love," he whispered. His face became wet as tears glided down his cheeks like snowflakes falling on a winter morning. A vulnerable, heartbroken man, though even under the weight of his beloved passing on, I watched as my grandfather rose. Moving towards the seats reserved for the mourning family, he stood tall despite all that he's lost. My grandmother was the first dead relative I had ever seen, the first dead body to be exact. Unsure of how to react, I approached the casket. After performing the sign of the cross, I knelt upon the pew, my hands locked together as I looked at her face. She remained still, as did I. My face remained calm, and it remained dry. Why couldn't I cry? Was I that awful of a grandson? It wasn't until I turned towards my grandfather that my eyes flowed. I guess the thought of him living without the love of his life is what I found sadder, what I found to be more real than death. Before I left my grandmother's side, I kissed her forehead and placed a tassel into her casket, the tassel worn around my graduation cap a few months prior, something to remember me by, something to make her forever proud. I walked over to my grandfather and hugged him tighter than I ever had before. "I'm sorry you lost her," I said. "We all did," he said, as his grip tightened around me. My mother's relationship with my grandmother wasn't perfect, but at the end of the day, she was still her mom. She still loved her, still mourned for her. I watched from my seat as my mother hugged many people. Some of them I knew, most were strangers. Most of these people were there for my grandfather, but none matched my mother's support. As her cheeks grew flushed and tears streamed down, she remained by my grandfather's side. She placed her hand on his upper shoulder as I watched his face scrunch and contort as he tried to fight back his own tears. "It's okay," I heard my mother say to him. "Let it out." My grandfather turned to my mother and wrapped his arms around her. He remained calm, strong, as did she. I admired my mother's strength, as I couldn't imagine how I'd feel if she had been the one lying in the casket. I'd be a wreck. But what if it had been my dad? Would I feel regret? Would I feel sadness? If you had asked me during that moment, I probably would have said no, but I know now that would be a lie. Even though he had hurt me more times than I could count, I would feel regret. I would feel sadness. I would feel loss, because even through all the pain and hurt, he's still my dad. After a few hours, my father arrived. It was hard for me to see him, to just look at him. He looked upset, exhausted. Were these failings because of my grandmother's death? Or were they because of me? Because of the last thing I said to him? Sure, my mental health was unstable at the time of our conversation, but I needed him to understand that I needed space. I needed to get better. I wanted him to understand, but how could he if he himself had never experienced anxiety or depression? How would he know how they feel? Maybe I was too hard on him. Maybe I could have explained how I felt, how I hurt. But one thing I did know, this was not the right time or place for us to talk about what happened. He signed the cross in front of my grandmother's casket and knelt down. He placed his hands on hers, just as my grandfather had done, and wiped tears from his eyes. I envied how easy it was for him to cry. Why was it so easy for him and so hard for me? I mean, though my parents were divorced, she was still his mother-in-law for 20 years. My father got up and walked over to my grandfather. "Dad," he started, "I'm so sorry for your loss. She was a wonderful woman." My grandfather hugged him. "Yes, she was," he said. "How are you doing?" "I'm doing all right," my father replied, "but things could be better." Was this comment meant for my ears? I remained at a distance. Sifting through old photographs of my grandparents, I stopped as one caught my eye. My grandparents were dancing at my parents' wedding. Everyone looked so happy, even my mom and dad. When did things shift in their relationship? Why did they grow apart? When did they begin to resent each other? Before I knew it, a hand lay upon my shoulder. I backed away. My dad stood across from me as I remained still, stuck. You can't even give your old man a hug, he asked, his eyes puffed and red. How long are you going to avoid me? Hasn't it been long enough? My face remained expressionless. This is not the time or place, I said coldly as I pointed towards my grandmother and walked away. I sat alone for the rest of the wake. At the time, I'm sure I felt this was the right move, but looking back, I realized it wasn't. It wasn't an angry man who stood before me. It was a broken man who yearned for his son, a man who lost his wife to divorce, a man who lost his son due to his son's stubbornness, a man who cared. On the ride home, I thought about what my dad said. Was I avoiding him? Has it been long enough? Would I ever be able to forgive my dad? But first, would I ever be able to forgive myself? Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I got to know Kathleen Aguero a year ago when she was my first workshop teacher at Solstice, and I came immediately to see her as a first-rate accomplished teacher. If she were a baseball player, I'd come out and watch her hit batting practice. Kathy immediately struck me as somebody who really curates the classroom space, who sees the classroom as a place of infinite possibilities. It's a place where we connect with one another, where we come to understand one another more deeply and come to understand ourselves more deeply, as well as the text. Kathy is attentive to the thoughts and feelings of people in the room. She's attentive to language, and she's attentive to the infinite possibilities of what can happen in a community that is focused around caring and compassion and intelligence. I immediately bought two of Kathy's books last summer and loved them both. The most recent one of her 6 books is World Happiness Index. And there too, Kathy shows an attentiveness to sound and image and language and idea. I'm struck most of all by the way in which Kathy enters into difficult terrain, political terrain, cultural and social terrain, and keeps her eyes on the artistic element in that poem. When Kathy taught the workshop, she emphasized for us what she emphasizes in her own poetry, which once again is the infinite possibilities of what can happen when one is committed to their work. I also notice a theme in Kathy's work that comes around to saying, we can be better. We can be better human beings. We can create a better world than the one we live in. It won't be easy, and it won't happen tomorrow, but we'll get there as long as we remain open to the infinite possibilities of learning and of poetry. So without further ado, I introduce you to a woman of infinite possibilities, Kathleen Aguero.
Peter, thank you for that. Yeah, short people. Thank you for that incredibly generous introduction. I met Peter outside. He was thinking of walking away, so I'm glad he didn't. Also, about the baseball thing, I have to tell you, my 8-year-old grandson won't even let me pitch balls to him. So I don't know about that one, but it's really wonderful to see you all again. I'm so happy to be at Solstice. I'm so happy to be faculty at large with its slightly dangerous, implications. And what am I doing wrong here? And thank you so much to Meg, to Q, to Maurizio, who's helping me even now, and to Noah, whom I've actually known of and about for a long time, because his father had an office next to mine at Pine Manor. So I heard all about young Noah. A friend of mine sent me this chapbook by Maggie Anderson called Greatest Hits. I think that's a fabulous idea. But the end of one poem really reminded me of the kind of atmosphere that Meg and Quentin try so hard to establish at Solstice. And the poem is called Art in America, and it's about some poets and painters who are at a vegetable stand and talking, quote, saying how we think we might believe in the perfection of communities of artists, the common work among us. What one of us does not get said, the others will. I also always like to begin my reading with a poem by another poet. And I would like to read a poem by Daniela Georges, a friend of mine who passed away this February. She was a wonderful poet, a friend, a community organizer. She published, her most recent books were, she published posthumously a chapbook called Acts of Resistance to New England Slavery by Africans Themselves in New England. And then her most recent book, published shortly before she died, is Three Leaves, Three Roots, Poems on the Haiti-Congo Story. And so the poem I'd like to read is from that book, Three Leaves, Three Roots. It's called Instructions in Times of Emergency. Turn the radio low, but listen. A slow rustle, a dictator. Do not turn, though some turn, against a neighbor. Do not look a beached and bloated body in its face. Do not plead to God, witness the executions. Your human self, keep it alive, a type of flame. Your lizard self, your toughest skin, wear it. Shut your door against the night. Keep your door shut against the creeping night. Yeah, she's wonderful. You should get all her books. And she was a wonderful friend. We've collaborated on several projects. I'd like to read some new poems. It's a series of poems called Under the Big Top, where I imagine certain members of our current administration as circus performers. And a lot of the poems have headlines for their titles. Under the Big Top, Inauguration 2025. Just a few months ago, in a beautiful Pennsylvania field, an assassin's bullet ripped through my ear. But I felt then, and believe even more so now, that my life was saved for a reason. I was saved by God to make America great again. From Trump's inaugural speech. The bareback riders, svelte and blonde, stand atop the plodding elephants and never wobble. They know how to curtsy, cartwheel, keep smiling despite the dung the elephants drop. Behind them, acrobats climb on each other's shoulders to reach the pinnacle, topple, scramble back in formation. The press secretary jumps off her pachyderm, juggles 3 burning sticks while journalists bring up the rear balancing plates as best they can. Now, some of these seem to be out of date as soon as I wrote them, so hard to keep up. This poem was written before the big breakup. Elon Musk, head of Doge. Not the usual ringmaster, elegant in red suit with gold braid top hat. This one has a face like a pudding. Wears a baseball cap, bounces up and down, but still has a few tricks up his sleeve. He can guess your weight, height, paycheck to the penny. Pick your pocket without your even knowing. When he nods, his tumbler attendants move a chest full of money, never touching it. Make thousands of dollars disappear. Don't doubt who cracks the whip that runs the show, fires the pistol that makes the clowns jump, the lions cower. I don't know if you remember when Trump and Netanyahu had a press conference, they were standing next to each other at the podium. Trump meets with Netanyahu, doubles down on relocating Palestinians, February 4, 2025. Of course, children are afraid of clowns, dead white faces, bulbous red noses that honk when squeezed, shoes too big for any feet to fill, smiles, grimace, tears painted on and never changing. Who can tell what they really think? You've seen them reduce the birthday boy to tears just by approaching. The embarrassed parents treat misfired. Some people go to school to learn such tricks. We've got one to whom these things come naturally. He's got the clown's girth, orange hair and face, lizard eyes. Bubbles of nothing float from his mouth. Whom do you fear most, his clown or the tailored joker beside him at the podium? Senator Cassidy, MD, Republican, Louisiana, votes to advance RFK Jr. nomination as head of Department of Health and Human Services, February 4, 2025. The sword swallower used to be a fencer, elegant, swift, but in this circus, it's pointless to fight. If he swallows his sword, he can keep his job. It hurts less than imagined. His sword, he discovers, is collapsible rubber. Swallowing causes only mild indigestion a doctor can easily treat. I apologize, some of the headlines are as long as the poem. RFK Jr. confirmed as head of Department of Health and Human Services, February 13, 2025. The magician waves a red handkerchief over his top hat, pulls out an elephant, a dead bear, a whale's head mounted on a Volkswagen full of clowns tumbling prostrate before him. He flourishes a scarf over his head and out pops a worm. He makes vials of vaccine disappear, hurls knives at a doctor inside a box who emerged unscathed but for one gushing artery. Abracadabra, the doctor's spine disappears and gets tossed on a heap with the others. The audience gasps. His bow is deep, confident. He ran away from his family to join the circus after all. This poem ends with a quote from the Cirque du Soleil blog on what is a contortionist. Turncoat Lindsey Graham flipped script after Trump-Zelensky fallout. Daily Beast, February 28th, 2025. The contortionist can touch his head to his buttocks, squat and throw his legs over his shoulders, twist so his head seems on backwards, squeeze himself into a bell jar. His performance repulses, but we can't look away. True, he was born flexible, but he trains hours each day, stretching and bending till his spine is loose as a snake's. He knows his, quote, skills may not be transferable, but it's good work if you can get it. Gabbard clears key Senate hurdle with unanimous GOP support. The lion so tame, the tamer hardly does anything. How complacently they jump through his hoops. Hard to believe they were ever wild. He can put his head in their toothless mouths and tell them what to say without fear. Their roars are for show. Should one step out of line, he just gives them a look. They retreat to their stools and cower. The act, so predictable, you long for the trapeze artists who at least might fall off. Behind the scenes. The performers play poker. 3 FBI agents trump 2 SAID employees. But when they empty their hands, they all hold aces. Someone has stacked the deck. You can hear their laughter over the elephant's trumpeting, the lion's roars, while they're bumping their fists, the clown and the ringmaster scoop up all their winnings. After the show, the audience boos, the popcorn is stale and overpriced. All views are obstructed. The cotton candy laced with pesticide, the hot dogs rancid. The elephants ate all the peanuts. The performers leave without even a final bow. Children are crying and hungry, exit signs unlit, and all doors blocked. By the time the crowd fights their way out, a parking ticket under the wiper of every car. So rather than leave you on that note, I'm gonna read a poem. This poem is from after that, and it gained a certain amount of attention because the Mass Poetry Association during the pandemic published a bunch of poems, and actually named it. My poem was the first they published, and they named it "The Hard Work of Hope." I do want to point out that my poem is simply called "Hard Work." Never a title of poem that gives away your poem. So the final poem, Hard Work, which I think some of you may have heard before. Hope springs eternal, but I couldn't imagine how hope, before it gets to that bubbling place, forces itself through miles of dirt packed hard, that around, over, under rocks, willing itself not to dry up in the desert or to merge with the sewer of a city street. Waiting for frozen prairie to thaw, resisting the warm and mindless absorption of mud, moss, sand, swamp, until it finds the small trembling where, welcome or not, it gathers the last of its strength and breaks through to the surface, the way a laboring woman, stinking, exhausted, summons one last grunt and push to force the baby into the world where it takes its first sharp breath. I bow my head to the hard work of hope. I let it place its dull and heavy hand upon my neck. I submit to its dour blessing. I give up. I begin its thankless, necessary pilgrimage. Thank you all so much.
All right. Wow. Okay. 2 fantastic readings, and here we go with another one. 10 years ago, in 2015, F. Douglas Brown was the Solstice MFA program's 5th Cave Canem partner poet as part of a partnership with Cave Canem, an organization committed to cultivating the artistic and professional growth of African American poets. Precursor to our Spotlight Poet program, the Cave Canem Partner Poet program ran for 12 years and was our introduction not only to Doug, but to Ian Haley Pollock and Nicole Therese Dutton, who launched our partnership in 2011 and 2012 and became faculty, as now Doug has. Doug is author of 2 poetry collections, Icon and 0 to 3, the latter of which was published by the University of Georgia and won the 2013 Cave Canem Poetry Prize, selected by then U.S. Poet Laureate Tracy K. Smith. His poems and his essays have appeared in numerous journals and anthologies, including the Academy of American Poets, the PBS NewsHour, the Langston Hughes Review, the Virginia Quarterly, and Teaching Black, the Craft of Teaching on Black Life and Literature. Doug serves on the advisory circle for the Lorca Latinx Poetry Prize and the boards for Beyond Baroque, Literary Arts Center, and Cultural Daily, a free platform for independent voices that are often overlooked and suppressed. A former Cave Canem as well as Kundiman Fellow, he was elected by Poets and Writers as one of their 10 notable debut poets of 2014. He teaches at the California Institute of Technology and Loyola High School of Los Angeles, where he serves as director of the Office of Equity and Inclusion. When not teaching, writing, or with his 3 children, Doug is busy DJing in the greater Los Angeles area. Doug is a disc jockey. I can't think of a more perfect segue for talking about his poems. As you know, the job of a DJ involves choosing and mixing music tracks in a way that creates a cohesive and rich experience for his audience, keeping things lively and engaging. To be a successful DJ, one must possess a range of skills, including a deep knowledge of musical genres, an ability to read and respond to the energy of the world around him, and technical proficiency with mixing equipment and software. And so it is for the poet, who needs quite similar knowledge when it comes to language, craft, and the vast riches that fellow artists of past and present have already created. And so Doug's poems respond to and dance with the work of fellow creators, from Robert Hayden, Anne Sexton, and Raymond Carver to James Brown, Vincent van Gogh, and even the sing-along sitcom Glee. But unlike the DJ, a poet as masterful as Doug Brown also requires the skills of the musician himself. And that is where Doug also excels, as his poems drum and strum and sing, no matter if they're celebrating the miracle of the birth of a child, unbutton the body and take out another, or the death of a father. Today, the grass grows in his throat, his voice muffled by a coffin. As Tracy K. Smith writes, Doug's lines move with a buoyant, marrow-deep music, percussive and rich. What a joy and honor it is to have him officially join the Solstice MFA program's faculty, and I hope you'll join me in giving him a warm welcome.
Wow. Thank you, May. Thank you so much. This is, I remember that reading 10 years ago so vividly because it felt like home, really, at Pine Manor, but coming back today and yesterday, it's been feeling like home. So I really appreciate all of you. I appreciate Maurizio for getting us started, our leadoff batter. Give him some love. And Kathy, oh my gosh, colleague Kathy, oh, tough act to follow here, tough act. So I write a lot about domestics, mostly about fatherhood. Both my parents passed away now. My dad going on 16 years and my mother about 7 years. And so this current work that I'm working on is called Press Play, and really takes that idea of a DJ and looking at all these and using many genres to kind of explore these complex movements that are associated with parenting and being parented to, and the many mistakes. But the poems, I think, are love songs, even as they consider grief and then how an individual kind of moves from that grief. So I'm going to read 2 quick newer poems because these are going to be published. So, Pleiades. So shout out to my poetry work wife, Jenny Molberg, for helping me kind of finish these, and Pleiades for publishing them. Parenting in the Key of Daniel Caesar featuring Her. If you know the song. My Capricorn mother shaped fearful songs in me. She spent most of my life fixing my hair or skin, made me wear socks on my hands so the pox didn't scar the best parts of me. Mom's lessons. Her efforts with a spray bottle and lotion kept me soft and safe and safe. And that, her refrain, looped around my brain as safety cue, colored flag, or hovering smoke. When I was old enough to break curfew and walk home in the dark, when I was old enough to know everything and then some, she reminded me if I were caught swinging from a tree, her sky would crush me too. If a bullet tore through me, she would tear and rumble the blood lake pooling on the cement as if to say, where you go, I'll follow, son. Beware of everything, especially me. The years of disaster movies we watched, bodies in harm's way without any wrongdoing or warning, her fears hummed before I would go out. She checked my hands for warmth. Oh, heart of my heart, for the streets don't say love is blind or that love is this dark kiss goodbye. Bald. Yeah. 10 years ago, I had hair when I was here. I cut my father's hair for the last time. It was summer, and really, it was a shave because he was bald. Like Isaac Hayes, I asked. To the bone, son. We stood in his two tiny bathroom street corner incense ash, torn lotto tickets in the wastebasket. I lathered my father's head thick so not to nick him. My hands around the beautiful contour of Dad's scalp. I could see what my mother saw in him. She loved his skin's gingerbread and how it matched his laugh, his strut through a life on earth. Our time together over the past year matched too, father and son, close as steel on skin. The sound of a razor sheared any need to rehash an argument's details, events missed, absences in general, and even the retold good worth the wait. Regret was $1 saved for the end of summer when I couldn't afford to look at his body done and stiff. Like all those Smokey and Temptation songs that played in the parlor, the folks who paid their last respects begged for more time, begged for the repast or fish fry too. Someone blubbered, that don't even look like him. His head was bald. I keep many things close to my chest. My final decision for my father, the hymn of black right before his casket closed for good. When I had him dressed for his funeral, the mortician asked if I wanted Dad's hair to be cut. He was growing it out. I shook my head no. To think, months before, love was just two men gazing into a mirror. Man. So a lot of this work with Press Play is really different from 0 to 3. And 0 to 3 was very much interested in what wasn't said between parents and what I hadn't said with my children when they were young at the time, and the things that kind of came about because of that, or being speculative, like if I had said this or if this had gone on, maybe this would have happened. What Press Play is really about the things and the actions that did and were said and then how do we grow from there, or heal from there, or hurt from there, and some of those things that I tried to do to kind of to help put them back together. In a lot of ways, 0 to 3 is an attempt to help me. What was an attempt to help me kind of speak better, and this new work is an attempt to help me just be better in the world as a better father, and so on. So, as Meg says, there's a lot of forms get used in this. A lot of them get mixed. Most of the time when I read them in like large kind of chunks, and I don't really set up the poems, but this one needs a little setup. Are there any Prince fans in the house? All right, good. 1999 in particular. All right, excellent. I like this. So I'm a big Prince fan. That's my number one. And I took the album 1999, which has 11 songs on it, and I wrote a poem for each one of them. And as this first poem, we'll kind of talk about something happened with my mother, which was really like, at the time, kind of unforgivable in regards to that album. And then later on, I was kind of telling the story to my wife, and I wrote a draft of the poem. And my wife was like, "Oh yeah, I would have done that to you too." I was like, "Wait, what? You're supposed to be on my side." She was like, "No, you know this." So I had to rethink, and I rethought about all of those events, and I reshaped, and it became 11 poems to really reevaluate what my mother had done, and I felt sorry. So this is in the form of a pantoum. And a pantoum, all of y'all know because you're smart. It repeats every other line, and then the first line becomes the last line. And I actually needed help to finish this, so I used the pantoums of Carolyn Kaiser, John Ashbery, and Peter Schaefer to kind of help formulate these. So you may hear the repetition in a lot of different ways. Trigger, just content warning, just really quickly. There is some turbulent language in this, I'll tell you that. And there's some violence that it describes, but we're all good now. That's all that matters. Oh, last thing. To my setup. These are pantoums, but because they use Prince, I told poet Amy Gersler about this, and she's like, we're just going to call them Prince tunes. And so that's what these are, Prince tunes, which is a poetic form of a pantoum that uses Prince as a tight lens or aperture to take a deep dive toward memoir. That's Amy Gersler right there. So there you go. Creative analysis right there. She did it. Prince tunes in the key of 1999. 1999 opens with, "Don't worry, I won't hurt you." But then bits of vinyl and mom's anger running everywhere, crack and split. Prince's 1999 album, Broken. Because he brought it to me, my brother's sass everywhere too. Now bits of vinyl and mom's anger. My brother's gift, a violation of mom's Catholic. My brother's sass everywhere too. Everywhere. Too much for mom's born again rules. My brother's gift, a violation. 1999's purple album cover with a cluster of white dots, too much for her born again rules. Add a pony P and words written in reverse. The 1999 album, purple with white stars, a cluster of symbols, T, eyes, rude boy, grave sites and guitars. Add a penis 1 and words written in reverse. Mom cursed it all satanic before I had a chance to fall in love with the symbols, the rude boy, the grave sites, Prince's guitar. Mom never trusted excuses. She let violence lead and cursed it all satanic before I had the chance to fully hold 1999. She never spared the belt or a bomb, her acute anger, Mom never trusted our excuses. She let violence snatch the gift, still hot from my brother's hands. She never spared the belt or bomb. This moment of acute anger. Only later would she hear the lyrics. Don't worry, I won't hurt you. Prince tunes for 1999, or in the key of 1999, Automatic. My father was so in love with me, he called me big time. Even when shit drunk, my name in love too, Automatic and unslurred. But now the only big time is trouble. I stand in front of the boy who is no longer a boy, not liquor drunk, but man up faded, foolish, our fists ready for menacing. I stand in front of the boy who is no longer a boy, bluffing the brawl which eventually happens, not liquor drunk, but man up faded, foolish. AUT-O-matic when any show of might instigates a 17-year-old. The brawl, no longer a bluff, is happening. AUT-O-matic for a few minutes of the world flickering TV snow blind. AUT-O-matic is the might of a 17-year-old as the might of a 17-year-old becomes reduced to hissing. AUT-O-matic for a few blind minutes. Beware when any scolding composes music to the tune of solo hisses. Single notes dragging across a violin grow and roar. Beware of what I compose as scolding. I am tussling with my son, striking chords, single notes, growing and roaring, then silent, his whole face, open season. And I am slapping my son, and I am hitting my son, allowing temper and fists to lead this melody, a clamor louder than my son's face. What have I opened in me? What is breaking, allowing violence to be right? Why are temper and fists leading this melody? This song is big time wrong as violence breaks. Purple star, your eye. AUT-O-matic, tell me what to do. Purple, your eye. Big time wrong. AUT-O-matic, so in love with you. I'll read one more. Prince tunes in the key of 1999. All the critics love you in New York. Flip the script. You call after 2 weeks. You call and I pick up. Finally, we talk. 2 weeks ago, you were running away, shirt off and angry. Finally, we can flip the script. Over the phone, you tell me, even after 2 weeks, your face is the color of Terence's Prince portrait. Over the phone, you tell me you deserved it, that this was your doing. But your face, the color of a mugshot portrait, mottled reds and sea greens. As you tell me what you deserved, the fact remains. My imprint across your face of red and sea green, the same face when you were born. A swollen baby head, blood in patches on your skin, red and sea green newborn face. Your sorrow slips past reminiscing. of blood and swollen heads. Like tea, your apologies steep within me. Shared sorrow as we talk. All the critics love, spare the rod to mean forgiveness. Like tea, your apologies bloom and blister within me. All the critics love because I said so to mean caregiving, as if parenting had art and not blunder behind its and not blunder behind its intention. All the critics love me destroying your body to mean safety. Dear son, my blunder was not listening to you plead, meet me where I stand. I should have silenced all the critics who love war and turbulence. I should have listened weeks ago to keep you from ever running away. Then flip the script. A son calls his dad. And finally, the dad listens as love talks. Thank you. Always hard to read, but I'm learning. So I'm going to read this last poem. Thank you all again. I'm going to dedicate this poem to Q. My daughter just graduated from college from USF in San Francisco. And this is what happened 22 years ago. And I think I read this in Pine Manor, so I'm glad to read this again. Body Stubborn remix, My Daughter Learns to Spin. This is in the form of a bop. So all of you who are coming tomorrow to the bop showcase, you will hear this. And I tend to say that I practice what I preach. And shout out to Ethan today. Great job. I wore this shirt for you and for everybody in the Bird by Bird workshop there. Some love. Body Stubborn remix, My Daughter Learns to Spin. I kick my mother's interior so hard she ripens. Tender her bruise, name it tangerine or pear, call it born, ready to peel and eat. My lungs learn asthma fast, learn they will not outrun my brother, learn to twirl and dance, how to outsmart him with the fervor of feet. I work as hard as hands. I work 3 times harder than my age, work with one plea or cue the request, just walk, baby. Can I kick it? Yes, she can. Can I kick it? Yes, she can. If I meant to say, if you know the song, go ahead and do that. So can I kick it? Can I kick it? There you go. I toddler clumsy. I reach but miss. Height betrays me. I get caught and trip on. Try. Okay. To mom, to dad. Crumble and fall. Backslide. Scrape an elbow and knee healing bubbles, then concretes into a scab, a wound, or tears. Buckle down and bear it. Grow into the scar. Scar until I grow. Daddy says lotion, but I won't grace. Would rather slow sprint and sidestep, would rather pluck cords out of hair and scratch the vinyl of my skin. Can I kick it? Can I kick it? Don't blame my feet for this body's stubborn confidence. I form praise in the shape of long strides. Tap the vowels of rock and roll, clap to the beat, pop a door down. Mixed master bow leg. When the storm hits the Gulf shore of my growth, when sand crusts and beckons, tries to back me down, I tweak the game, I go on, I spin forward, I jigger, I bug until my daddy launches me into his arms. Can I kick it? Can I kick it? Well, I'm gone. Thank you all.
All right. Wow. All right. What a reading. Doug Brown, Kathy Aguero, Maurizio Turco. One more round of applause. Yeah.